Derek. Prologue. You could feel the floors of the castle vibrate as the queen angrily made her way to the council room. She had been called upon by the king, but it would be a grave meeting, one that she knew she would always remember. She knew exactly why she had been sent for by her husband, and she meant to confront him about it when she arrived. She came to the door and threw it open. She started to speak, but realized they weren't alone, so stopped herself. She lifted her head and entered proudly. "Helena, my love, come," said the king. "Come here." He smiled, but didn't stand from his seat. "Henry," she regarded him, "I see you've invited your general." She nodded to the man at his right. "Pay him no mind." His voice was gentle but stern. "We were just finishing." The general nodded and bowed to the king. "Then I shall take my leave of you, sire." "Highness." He bowed to the queen and exited. She watched him carefully as he left and didn't speak until the door closed and his muffled steps could be heard receding. She turned sharply. "Helena, dear, couldn't we speak? You've naught to fear from my general." "Oh? But haven't I? Is he not the reason you summoned me here?" Her voice was strong and noble, and it rang across the chamber. "Helena," he spoke softly and lovingly, almost as a whisper. "Why did you do it? You knew the penalty, and still you... Helena, my love, why?" Her eyes glittered with the start of tears. She put her face down and cast it away from him. She couldn't bear to even glance his way. "Why couldn't you stay away? These are dangerous times. The war is treacherous. At the very least, you could have steered from my troops." "Steered from your troops?" She was screaming with her anger. Here he was, calling her love, when all she could feel now was resentment for him, for what he had done. "You have become a murderer, a man unworthy for your position. She struggled for the right word for him now. "A monster." His eyes became large. The rage within him grew. You are the one who broke my law. You knew to stay out of my war affairs. It is no place for a woman. Yes, you should have steered from my troops, not followed them like some blundering fool." He tried to calm himself. He lay back in his chair and clasped his face with a hand. "What you have done is punishable by death. By death, Helena. And you put me in a very precarious situation. He paused, trying to find a way to say what he needed to without losing his emotions again. "You are my queen. But that fact does not make you immune to the laid laws." She shook her head, unable to look his way now. "Do you think that I don't know that, Henry? I don't care. I knew something was wrong, and I had to expose it. That is why I did what I did. And I would not take back my actions for anything. I love you, but look what you've become. You're not the man you once were, and definitely not the king I know. I don't know who you are. Not anymore." He couldn't speak at first, for he was so taken aback at her words. Had he truly lost himself? Could it possibly be? What should he do? By law, she should have been put to death, but he loved her so. "Helena." He looked to her crying form. He took in her beauty, her long honey-brown hair, the fairness of her face, her wonderfully constructed body. He knew he would never see her again, not after this meeting. He rose and walked to her. He grasped her soft hand and put an arm about her waist. She cried as he held her there. He tried to speak, but tears fell instead of words. And then, "I'll not let them harm you, but I must act. Surely you must know that." She gathered up the strength she had remaining and looked to his face and into his eyes, his mesmerizing hazel eyes. She touched his face. She pursed her lips sadly and began to cry, looking down again. "Just save yourself the ache and kill me quickly, Hen," she whispered. "Just don't let them hang me." He stared at her in utter shock. "They'll not lay a hand on my queen." "No. I'll send you away." "You'd banish me?" She gaped at him, tears gone now. "Such is a fate worse than death here. Just kill me." He shook his head. You'll go to Darren. The place of traitors? They'd surely kill me once I arrived. If not, they'd mount me as if I were a bandit's prize. It is the best thing for you. Now, raising his voice, Guard! Enter now! She stared at him with fiery rage. Take the queen into custody. She will be removed from the city, never to return. Create an escort for her to Darren. The guard's eyes broadened. Darren, sire? Yes, Darren. Be gone with her. The guard took her arm and pulled her from the chamber. As the door was closing, the last words she said, You truly are a monster.